Welcome to AI Marketing, a podcast for sales and marketing professionals that want to increase their sales, leads, and conversions through the use of artificial intelligence solutions. And now, here's your host, Mark Verdelman.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the AI Marketing Podcast. Today, I have with me John, who's going to talk about lies, damn lies, and AI. He's got a new book. I don't know if it's out or not yet or not, but he's going to let us know. So, John, why don't you quickly introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your book, and then we'll dive right in.
Sure. Like I said, John Bambenek. I am spent 25 years doing cybersecurity. I have my own kind of boutique cybersecurity firm, and kind of just an accident of circumstance, have been getting my PhD in artificial intelligence and cybersecurity at the University of Illinois, which kind of led to the background of writing that book, Lies, Damn Lies, and AI. And it is out. It's on Amazon right now.
Okay, and what are the lies and damn lies that you're referring to? Because AI, I mean, according to most people, is going to take over almost everything. Is that the lie, or what's the lie?
Well, that's definitely part of the lie, right? So we'll talk about AI in healthcare, where AI has been very successfully used, right? But it's always AI assisting a physician. The doctor still makes the decision, right? AI might diagnose a cold one day.
Okay, so healthcare, you think is what?
AI in healthcare has been very successfully utilized, but it has always been, to help a doctor aid in the diagnosing and treatment. The doctor, the human, is still making the decisions. AI may diagnose whether you have a cold or a flu one day, kind of low significance medical decisions. But if you have cancer, you're going to go to an oncologist and all the team of professionals you're going to for a wide variety of reasons. And one of those is medical malpractice liability. If AI gets it wrong, somebody's due millions of dollars.
But how do you sue AI?
Well, you would sue in a medical malpractice case. You sue every entity involved. You sue the doctor, the facilities. If there's some medical device, you may sue the manufacturer. If OpenAI, for instance, was just embedded in making medical decisions somehow, then OpenAI would just be named in the lawsuit.
Well, that's true today. I would agree with you. But when we get to, the so-called AGI and then ASI, where they're creating their own knowledge, they're obviously going to be smarter than any physician out there. And I'm saying if we realize this, which I think we will, just based on what I'm seeing. Well, what then? You're going to sue somebody that's got more knowledge than any human on Earth?
In essence, that's done today, right? If you're talking about a high-end surgeon where you had a bad medical event,
well, you could sue anybody, but it doesn't mean you're going to win.
Well, the people who make the liability determinations are a jury of 12 people who don't have the intellectual faculties to adjudicate whether a surgeon made a correct decision or not.
True, but when the AI explains exactly why it made that decision in painstaking detail, then what would the jury say then?
Well, it's
hypothetical.
Well, yeah, that's right. And I suppose trial by juries, or at least, juries in civil controversies won't go away because it's Bill of Rights. What would human beings decide? And I suppose at large will depend upon the societal attitudes of those jurors, some of whom will have been economically displaced by AI taking jobs.
Okay. And so what else do you see as lies or damn lies in terms of AI?
One of the big lies, and it's actually kind of a critique of people who are doomsaying about AI, that AI will become self-aware and you'll have an apocalyptic event. No one is
Why wouldn't it?
Well, no one's going to put AI in a position to launch nuclear weapons. No president is going to outsource that authority. I mean, I suppose as a society, we could opt into, what sounds great? I want to live in Idiocracy as a documentary and fiction movie. I mean,
well,
I
suppose, kind of are.
you could make that. I mean, not an unfair point, but I mean, fully embrace that. I just don't think we ever will, right? And whenever you're looking forward, it's just a thought. The kind of people who run for president and the kind of mentality they have would not outsource that decision to something else.
There's no way. But let me just put it differently. And I'm not a big
Hmm.
apocalyptic guy at all. I think we'll find ways to mitigate all of it. But
Mhm.
when you have an AI entity that's thinking for itself, and then when you get to super intelligence where it's creating its own knowledge well above and beyond any human knowledge, then couldn't it orchestrate a kind of a social engineering event where, and we've had this without social engineering where there was a false alarm in I think the 50s or 60s where the computers were telling us that Russia had launched its nukes. And thank
Yeah,
God some calmer heads had said, no, this doesn't look right. And we didn't retaliate.
yeah, and it, kind of led to if it's the event
But
I'm
so
thinking
couldn't,
of, set up the red phone so that the president of or the heads of state of America and Russia can talk in real
yes.
time to work through
So
that
couldn't
conversation.
AI, a super intelligent AI, orchestrate the same thing? See, my question isn't will it or can it? I think it can. My question is why? What would motivate it? Is it even motivated? What motivation would it have to eliminate us? It's not like they're living, breathing entities. They will never die. So why? And they don't. We're not threatening them
Right.
necessarily. So why would they eliminate us? I wouldn't. I don't understand why.
Yeah,
Maybe you can help.
I just don't see a set of decisions made by others. We're going to put this technology in a place, even that it could, should it want to. Now, could these systems social engineer us? There was articles out this week of, yeah, I wanted to say they called it AI psychosis. Uh,
Yeah.
I think that was the actual phrase of people who are interacting with essentially it's just chat GPT and conversationally and just becoming obsessed with its content. I mean, it will have radical impacts on a lot of things, right? And I work in education, and one of the things that we're struggling with that really, in my mind, there isn't going to be a solution for is academic dishonesty. If
Well, wouldn't the AI detect that though?
Its track record hasn't been good,
Well, it's so
because
far. I'm talking
I
about
mean,
the future.
um, well, I mean, for writing papers, potentially, but
Well,
answering,
look what
say,
look.
the
Did you
multiple
use
choice tests.
ChatGPT 2?
Hmm?
Did you use ChatGPT 2?
Did I use it as well or version two?
Yeah. Did you use it at all?
Oh yeah.
It was
Oh, I
shit.
use it.
But
Absolutely.
once ChatGPT 3 came out, it was pretty damn good, and 4 is awesome.
Hmm.
So imagine 5, 6, 7, 8, how good it's going to get. So I just look forward to the trajectory and just say a lot of these white collar jobs aren't going to be needed anymore. But what it will give us is the opportunity to create some really cool things or reverse aging or solve cancer because these things will be it'll map our entire human genome, which I think we already have as humans, and then conduct a million experiments a minute on some of these things when we can get to it, if we get to it.
Right. Well, that kind of gets into a whole host of problems I don't necessarily talk about in terms of power consumption and rare earth minerals
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
Yes.
was it New York
Compute power.
recently turned on a nuclear reactor, kind of the first start of a nuclear reactor, and who knows how long, and mostly to power some systems for AI. Um,
Are you
there's
opposed to that?
am I opposed to nuclear power?
Yeah.
I mean, if you can contain the fallout risk, and you can, by all means, it's
Well, the
I'm
French do.
yeah. Well, and that's, in America, the American mind goes back to 3 Mile Island, right? Is like,
Yes.
how can make sure that not happen again? And this kind of goes into it, kind of the underlying motif of some of your questions. Can I scientifically start a reactor to make sure it's safe? Yes.
Yeah.
Science does it. That is the scientific answer. The public policy answer is, can I govern the fears of it? Because humanity, or at least American society anyway, I shouldn't speak so broadly, American society, is kind of apocalyptic. We think of AI, we think of Terminator, we think of
Yeah.
nuclear reactors, we
Right.
think of fallout and Chernobyl and whatever, right? Those risks can be infinitesimally small, but it is an emotional based decision, which I don't know that anybody's really trying to map emotionality into AI, because part of the promise of AI is to take emotion out of it, because emotion can often lead to logical errors. So philosophically, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to have true emotion or emotional reasoning in AI systems. But the problem you have to solve, right, is how do I build confidence in society at large, right? You're not dealing with a science problem, you're dealing with a feeling problem.
It's very true. And then human beings will be making emotional decisions based on what AI is doing,
Mhm.
and they'll
And
try to override it and control it and change it to what they want it to be. Like we already have so-called woke versions and politically correct versions of AI even today. You can't do certain things.
yeah, well, I mean, but ultimately, you really can't take human bias out of it,
Why
because
not? Who's human
somebody's
bias?
Well, somebody is choosing the training data, they're picking the
Yes,
features,
that's true.
they're putting in the guardrails, all the
That's true.
conversation about ethical guardrails. I mean, we could talk about a couple that we're all going to agree on for the most part, right? AI systems shouldn't be racist, shouldn't kill people. Okay. But now what are the other guardrails? I mean, I think it was back in ChatGPT 3, I asked a question, here, go tell me a divorce joke. And it was like, oh, well, divorce is a traumatic event, and you shouldn't joke
Right.
about it, this, that, and the other thing. But anybody
Crazy.
who's been divorced loves divorce humor, right? But
Yeah.
it's somebody who's trying to create guardrails. And as a species, we are awfully bad at doing things in a globally representative way, right?
Oh,
Because
totally.
values and biases and all these kind of things shift. And I'm not even talking about like big B-ism biases, like, you could like chocolate ice cream and hate vanilla. I mean, that's perfectly
Yeah.
acceptable. It's still a bias. So there's still a human in the mix. And
Yeah.
a lot of these kind of woke tendencies or of AI systems or whatever, some of these guardrails, is very much a creature of the kind of socio-political mindset of technology engineers in the Bay Area. This is just
See,
how they think it's the right way. So there you
yeah,
go.
that's the way it's done. I think they should get rid of all of it, honestly, except for maybe how to build a nuclear bomb and, tell me the suppliers and all the rest of that stuff. But I don't think we should have it. And because I think it limits the potential of a truly unbiased system, ironically,
Mhm.
because by introducing bias, it's bias.
Yeah.
And that's the problem I see. But it's going to take some societal changes to accept this, if it ever does. If everybody does. But don't you think that because a lot of this is open source, that you're going to have companies doing it anyway? How are you going to stop that?
Well, that's, I don't know how much I talk about AI regulations in the book as just a kind of an anecdote, because we're talking about how to regulate it. And my
Yeah,
answer is like, oh, what do we do about guardrails this? And, what about the current, well, I think with the budget bill that was passed by Congress today, as we're recording it, I think it still had that moratorium of AI regulation, federal AI regulation. Um, that's a bit of a moving target. But prior to this, the discussion is we have to limit the amount of computing power, as if that's the harm you're trying to prevent, of the
right.
number of ones and zeros on the wire. I think the way you deal with the societal harms is essentially liability, right? If you're using an AI system to decide who gets to buy a home, or I should, to be more precise, who gets a home loan to purchase a home, and it just discredits African Americans. Well, okay, now we've got some federal civil rights law to make sure that that doesn't happen. I mean,
Well,
they'll eventually.
why would the AI let it happen? Be my question.
Well, the logical argument for redlining decades ago, redlining is kind of the process of banks kind of knew where the poor areas were,
It
and
wouldn't lend there.
they wouldn't lend there, right?
Yeah.
So, the system can just say, based on these features that add up to this type of person, the loan is more risky, based
Well,
on.
what if that's just true?
Well, that's where it's going to take 10 years worth of data, of
Yeah.
decisions to figure that out, right? Um, and that's really kind of a precise legal question, right? Is some people are bad bets, and they're bad bets because of their economics, not because of, of their ethnicity. And as
Okay.
long as, we can measure that, right? It's like, okay, here's an African American couple, 3 kids, makes $2 million, 850 credit score, blah, 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 denied for a home loan, right?
Yeah,
Um,
that'd be a huge problem unless they didn't have the LTV wasn't correct, the amount of down payment. But
right.
I
Yeah.
think,
I mean, there's all sorts of features and kind of the dangerous
but
territory.
AI can detect that, and so can regulators. I think the regulators will have their own AI, and they'll be examining everything because
Well, yeah, they'll
there's
be examining outcomes like they do now. Actually,
yeah,
using AI to examine outcomes will probably get to better enforcement of civil rights law because there's a lot of times people get screwed, but they get screwed for quote legitimate reasons. But they're aggrieved, they're a certain class of protected persons, and they go for civil rights law. Now we could sit there and say, we're eliminating essentially we can turn it into a science experiment, right? Is we've eliminated this variable as the cause of why this bad thing happened to you.
I think regulation is going to be embedded directly into every major financial decision. Why not? I mean, that would be the way
Well,
to
I
do it.
mean, there's a lot of reasons why there's regulation in financial systems, and you see this fight as it plays out in cryptocurrency of whether to
Yes.
regulate it or not. The
Well,
only
a lot of us want it regulated, and it's being regulated now, but for the positive, because nobody wants the FTX thing to happen again. That was a big black stain on the whole industry.
yeah, I mean, you're not wrong, right? One of the major pieces of banking regulation is the FDIC, that your money is safe even if the bank loses it, or the bank gets robbed. There isn't an equivalent in cryptocurrency, right? But that benefit to society comes with strings attached.
Yes, yes, yes.
Um, so I think really my only notion of liability, to go back to the healthcare example of why AI works really well in healthcare, is that ultimately a human being is going to make a decision because that person is legally liable for the outcome. If, as long as liability issues are properly assigned, then you will generally get good outcomes. No one wants to get sued, and no one really wants to get sued for good reason, right? So, when it gets into technology companies of Microsoft and Google, we often say, "Hey, don't regulate. You'll stifle innovation." But if you're outsourcing the harms of getting it wrong on society, then or certain classes of individuals, right? Then you get all sorts of other different unpleasant outcomes. In order for this to work right, if a self-driving car runs into somebody and somebody's, paralyzed, well, the manufacturer, if it was the car's error, the manufacturer of the car is going to have to, pay that liability and not hide behind some of the immunities that take place in the tech sector.
Okay, I love that. You have great explanation. So, is there anything else you want to say before we let you take the floor with your book? I want to learn more about it and what's in it and what we'd learn from it.
Gotcha. So, I mean, you mentioned, right, the displacement of white collar jobs, or at least a subset of them, right? And certainly, right, every now and then, it seems like every week or two, there's an article about CEOs or executives talking about reducing workforce,
Yes.
because of AI.
Well, you heard Amazon and Microsoft, all the big guys have said, "Hey, we're going to reduce our workforce by 25% in the next couple of years." Just heads up.
Yeah. Well, every major innovation when it comes to information has displaced people, and it's created new jobs and new opportunities as a
I
result.
agree, 100%.
So,
100%.
to kind of the starting point of how I talk about AI is marketing, because AI has been in marketing for a long time, at least as far as Google is concerned, and the search engines and ad tracking were all AI the entire time. That created, with the let's advertise things on the internet, and optimizing search, it created a new class of professionals for search engine optimization, right? Something otherwise unheard of. No one would think about it because prior to search engines, far enough back, you talked about the yellow pages. All you did was, give the phone company your number and they put it in the yellow pages.
Yeah,
Maybe you bought an ad, maybe you didn't.
that's right. That's right.
So there'll be
Okay.
new jobs created as well. So kind of the more optimistic take on this is, there's been people who've been writing information jobs for, 10, 20 years. You may be at risk of displacement, but, if you're reskilling, I don't even say reskilling because that kind of has a negative connotation for blue collar workers, but you're learning new things and learning how to adapt. There'll be other jobs created as a result.
And ones we can't even fathom right now. I mean, it's just going to grow. We'll all be doing things. Let's not even talk about AI and robots, but when that happens, then you could build your own home, you can build buildings, you could drive. Cars are going to go autonomous here pretty soon. There's so many opportunities for people to do things that they couldn't imagine doing today,
Or
and they'll be able to do it
or
in 3 years.
or outsource tedium.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
true.
if you think about a self-driving car, if you manage to go right, I'd love to go sit in the back of the car when I drive. I live 150 miles away from a major airport at O'Hare, right? I make that drive when I travel a lot. If I can go sit in the back and do something productive with that 2.5 hour drive or longer if I get caught in rush hour, that would be great, but I'm not
Yep.
supposed to talk on the phone or respond to emails or whatever. I got to keep my hands on the wheel and my eyes on the road, right? If we can have systems that, and we already kind of do with Roombas, right? Is
Yeah.
a basic amount of cleaning can just be done for people. The
Yep.
only thing that I think will calibrate how much this is accepted by society is how much of that is available down market, right? Are these luxuries only for millionaires and whatever, or are
No,
we
no way.
expending the benefits down to, people who don't have much, who are
Uh, it,
plumbers?
it it's gonna be a rising tide in a good
Yeah, I
way.
mean that's the hope anyway, right? That
It's going to because I mean even today ChatGPT is very. I mean if you're not paying for it, it's still free, but it's so inexpensive and it's so powerful.
yeah,
I can't see it getting more expensive as they build on these things. So yeah, I don't see that. But the autonomous car example, even better is my son that goes to school at UCLA. I'm constantly having to pay for an Uber to drive him back. Well, pretty soon, I think even next year, Elon Musk has said all Teslas will be self-driving. I could just send the car to go get him while I'm still at home, and it drives him back to Orange County where I live.
yeah,
That's a huge, huge, huge benefit on its own. But it's just the tip of the iceberg. What's going to happen, I think.
right. And the flip side of that coin, right, is just outsourcing tedium to AI, right? And I go back to education. If you talk about doing homework, that's a lot of tedium, but the product isn't the homework. you know, AI kind of superimposes that students who really don't want to be students and learn, it's like, I've got to output all of these things.
Yeah.
Well, the product is hopefully, better reasoning, better understanding, right? If I don't teach history, but if I signed an 8-page paper on the American Revolution, it's not because I want to be informed, it's because I want the students to go, read about the history, come up with a take, justify their points. Um,
I love this discussion, but our podcast is already over.
ah,
Uh, but I want you to talk about your book. I'm very intrigued. I hope everybody else is from this discussion. And we're going to have John back because there's a number of things that are happening on a daily basis that I'd love your input uh,
mhm.
on, John. So give us a short 30-second commercial on your book and what people will learn by reading it.
So, it's kind of a general introduction to AI, right? I don't make it a technology book per se, but kind of explain what it is in its current iteration. That, essentially, you're doing a lot of statistics and finding features, and that's fine. It works really well for some things. It works today, it works really well. Sometimes there's drawbacks. We Facial recognition and policing is a problem that we keep having, for instance, that we need to solve. And, it'll be disruptive, but we're also kind of looking, and, it was the genesis was we're talking about, species ending problems as if they're likely outcomes, and they're not.
Right.
What AI will do is make a lot of important decisions, but not like genocide. It's like, who gets jobs? Today, there was an article about this of managers using AI to make promotion pay raise determinations. So the people who know how to present their data or work their metrics will be the people who get ahead, right? And if you don't have that skill set, then you're going to not get good pay raises or promotions, right? So we need to kind of learn how these systems work. But hopefully, you dial in for the metrics that you want to see, and that's or the metrics that are important, for a business, right, and promoting managers, and you get the right outcomes.
Okay. Sorry, I was on mute when I was talking.
Well, good.
Okay. Well, John, where your book's on Amazon, I assume, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, we're going to put a link in the show notes for you to take a look at that, and any other place, John, you want us to go. I know how I published a book. I know how you spread the love out a little bit. But any links that you want, we'll put in the show notes, and go check out the book. Download at least the first chapter. Buy the book. These days they're not that expensive. I prefer audiobooks. John, do you have an audiobook?
It should be being uploaded and published as soon as Amazon approves it. So it's by the time this airs, it should be live.
Okay, wonderful. All right. Thanks, John. And I'm going to have you back in the next couple months, okay?
Outstanding. Look forward to it.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.